Hello everyone. Today our topic is how to read .csv files in PySpark. So we'll see in these different methods how to read CSV files. So first we'll see what is the content of this video. So first we are going to discuss about basic way of reading the CSV file, that is with the default options, and how to read CSV file with header, and how to infer schema automatically while reading the CSV file, and how to provide explicit schema, or you can say manual schema, and how to use spark.read.format CSV, and using options with key value pair. So these are all the topics we are going to discuss in this video. So first we'll see about the syntax. So the syntax can we can write in these three different ways. So first one is spark.read. So this is common. Spark.read, it is common. And after that, so you can write either of these three methods, like after read.csv. So if you are mentioning at the starting .csv, and inside that you can pass all the parameters, all the required documents, you can pass it. So one is file path. In double quotes, you can mention the file path, and you can mention like header equal to true and infer schema equal to true. So this is one method. And second method is after read. So whatever this header equal to true, infer schema equal to true. So these things we can write separately, like by using dot option. So dot option, header. So we need to write like header in double quotes and true as Boolean value, and dot CSV. So dot CSV with this path. Dot CSV here will pass only file path. So this is one method. And third method is after read, you can mention like dot format CSV. So inside that we need to write the format. That means what kind of format we are passing here. So this is the best method, and why it is recommended method is, so if you write like dot format, suppose if you're reading CSV file, you can change this one to CSV, or if you are reading Parquet file, you just mention here Parquet, or if it is Avro file, just mention Avro. If it is TXT, mention TXT. And what else is there? CSV, text, Parquet, and JSON. So if it is JSON, you can mention JSON. And dot option. So this is say header equal to true. So you can write either of this way. So actual syntax is this one: dot option, key equal to header, value equal to true. But whenever writing real time, we'll simply mention like this. Instead of writing this full way, we'll simply mention like header true. So this is one. Next, dot load. Inside that path equal to, we need to mention the file path. Okay, so these are all the different methods to read the CSV file, not only CSV file, any kind of format. So first familiar with these three options, means these three methods. So now we'll jump on to one by one option, we'll see. So what is first scenario is basic way. So basic way means by using default options. So default options means, as I told in this first method, what I'm doing, without these two arguments I'm using here, like spark.read.csv, and inside that I'm mentioning only the path, CSV file path. So if I do like this, what will happen? See, actual CSV, if you see CSV file, it will be this whole thing. That means it will start with column names, and it will start with this first. But whenever you read CSV file like this, only by mentioning the path, Spark, what it does is, even the column names in your CSV file, it considered as the first row. That means that also it will consider as data, your values. So it read as first row and it will go on remaining data. So then what it considering column names is Spark by default it gives the column names like this underscore C0, underscore C1, underscore C2, underscore C3, and so on. How many columns are there? It will give you like this. So this is a default naming of Spark. And if you observe one more thing, see everywhere by default it reads as string type. See all columns are string type. If you expand this one, see here all are string. So total we have 11 columns and all 11 columns we have string type. So this is method one. So here while reading CSV file, by default, every column detects as string data type. So that we need to keep in mind. And no header is assumed. So no header is assumed. So that means the header also it considering as normal row. And column names become like this. Like as I mentioned, underscore C0, C1, C2, like this it will be. So here what I will do, I will try to print schema also. Print schema. I'll print schema for this particular data frame. So Databricks, what it does, Databricks it represents data types here, but PySpark function is this one, print schema. So this is Databricks, it provides the this data types. But suppose if you save this file, suppose you download this file and if you upload to your GitHub somewhere, then it won't display here. It won't add. So in that cases, best option is this one, uh, printing print schema. So here this schema is printing, right? So even if you upload to GitHub, it will upload there. So it will be visible to us. So otherwise, if you upload to GitHub, so for us, very difficult to uh, uh, come to know these data types. So next is read CSV with header. So header means, so if you see here, the syntax, here we can write two ways. So totally we have three ways. So here, this is standard three ways. So on from that three ways, so here I'm going to discuss about two ways. So uses the first row as the column names. If you see here, this is first row, right? Here it considered as data. So that row, it will consider as column names. If you see here, now here it reading first row as the column names, and from second row onwards, it displaying the data. And at the same time, if you see here, all are string type only. And we'll see one by one, like so first we'll look for methods. So what is first method is spark.read.csv. So earlier we tried up to here, up to this path, spark.read.csv, and inside that we mention the path. So here additionally what I'm giving, header equal to true. So that means if you give header equal to true, the first row, it will consider as header. Okay, so from second row onwards, it will consider as data. So this case here, if you see, I mentioned only path. So what Spark default consider is header equal to false. Okay, so we no need to mention hard-coded way like this. So if you don't mention about this header, so Spark by default considered as header equal to false. Okay, so this is the one additional thing I given. So if you give header equal to true, you will get first row as the column names. So same thing I given here. And one more thing, one more method is spark.read and dot option. So as I told, in this option, you will mention this one, header true. So this is second method. And dot CSV, and inside that we are mentioning only path. So that means from here, this header equal to true, we are writing separately by using dot option. And if you see here I used second method like spark.read dot option. Option is header equal to true. So you can write the syntax either this way or this way. So here, but this particular case, I written this second method. Okay, so since I mentioned print schema, we will get schema also here. See here, and if you see here, all the columns are string data type. Okay, so this is second one. So what is our second scenario? Read CSV with header. So next we'll go for third scenario. Infer schema automatically. So infer schema automatically means as of now, it reading the data types by default string. And if you see here, this particular column belongs to integer, but it reading as string type. And here, these four, total five are there. These total five columns are related to date columns, but still it reading as, so all are date type. So all are date values, but still it reading as string value. So how to detect the right data types while reading the CSV file? So in this, first method is infer schema automatically. So that means Spark detects data types like integer, double, date, timestamp, or string, or boolean, so struct type. So all these data types Spark automatically detects, and slightly slower for large files. Why? Because it need to scan two times. So if you don't mention this infer schema, so then it will do only one scan. So if you mention infer schema equal to true, for loading your CSV file, it will scan one time, and to detect your infer schema, to detect the schema, it will run one more time. So first we'll see the syntax. So method one, method two. So read.csv. So read.csv, we are mentioning the path, and inside that, so in previous case, we given header equal to true. And here additionally, what we are giving infer schema equal to true. So for previous cases, since we are not defined here, Spark what it does is by default, it considers infer schema equal to false. Okay. So second method is spark.read option header true. So this we saw in previous method. And additionally, what I'm giving dot option infer schema true and dot CSV, the file path. Okay, so whatever here, these two things in this method, it is written separately by using option method. So this header equal to true. So dot option header equal to true, and this infer schema. So dot option infer schema equal to true. So now here what I did, I used a second method. So spark.read option header true and option infer schema true and dot CSV, we are mentioning the file path. So here I'm trying to print schema also. So now we'll see Spark itself will detect the right data types. So why? Because since we mentioned infer schema equal to true. So how Spark will detect automatically these data types is, so in first iteration, it will load the data. In second iteration, it will try to detect the data type. So that means if it comes to first column, it will scan the records of this particular column. So either it will scan the entire rows or it will scan based on sampling ratio. So I already made one video on sampling ratio. So how these data types will detect based on this column values. So it will scan the values. Suppose in this, we have some 1,000 rows. It will scan these 1,000 rows. And since we have all integer values, so it will detect as data type as integer. But sometimes, there is possibility of detecting wrongly. So wrongly means, suppose this is integer values, right? So currently this particular case, it detected as integer value, means integer data type. But some cases, what it happens, instead of integer, it detects as long data type. Okay, so like this, so one or two cases, there is possibility of detecting wrong data type. So by any chance, if your particular column, it has some mixed type of values. Suppose here integers is there, maybe at one of the row, suppose in case it has a double value or float value, then there is chance of detecting this data type as double type. Okay, so and it will come to second row and it will check all the values and it will detect as string type. Okay, so next if you come to this one, see actually this is date values, but why it considering as string data type is, if you observe here, this is combination of both integer and string values. If you see this value here, integer is there 26, 24, but in between John. So this is string. So it detecting as string type. Instead of date type, it is detecting as a string type. But if you see these two cases, see here this is string type, and here if you see these two are date type. So here it detecting correctly. So how it detecting? Because it is in proper date format. If you see here, these two, it is in proper date format. So that is the reason it detecting as date type. And if you observe the change here, first is date, month, year. Date, month, year. In this format, it is there. But if you see here, after applying infer schema equal to true, see it coming in default format. So what is the Spark date default format is year, month, date. So here 2024, 331 is there. See here 2031, 3, 2024. So this format will change to Spark default format as 2024, 331. Okay, so that is the difference here. And here, if you come to this column, so here it detecting as string type. Why? Because we have months in the form of text. So that's why it detecting as string type. But if you come here, these three detecting correctly, since it is in proper date format means this one. So proper date format means it is in month, year, date. That is in standard date format is there. So that is the reason it detecting correctly. Next, we'll go for other column, that is delivery and date. So here also, since characters are there, months are with characters, so it detecting as string. So this is detecting as date. But here we'll see why it detecting as string. Even though month values are there, why it detecting as string, that we'll see here. Delivery and date. So here we can see, so it is not in standard format. So first month is there, I think 01, all are 01, 07, 23. Okay, first month is there, then date is there. Okay, so there will be some reason why it reading as a string. We need to find out that maybe it is not in default format. So 0104, it is so 0101 24 to 6. If there is one small mistake also, it will detect as string type. So I will try. If it is not there, the reason would be there will be some mismatch with the default format. 11, 12, 11, 11, 12, 2. Okay. It looks like correct, but there will be some mistake. Okay. So that is the reason it is detecting as string type. So that is this one, info schema equal to true. Uh, that is this one. So this particular column, and we'll see. Okay. So somehow it is detecting as uh, string type. So how Spark it automatically detecting is because of this option info schema equal to true. So next, so all the columns we can print by using df.columns. So if you print df.columns, it will give you the list of columns. So next is provide schema explicitly. So that means um, providing the schema manually. So how we can do manually is by using struct type method, we can pass the schema here. So wherever here struct type and struct field. So these two things and all these data types, first we need to import from SQL.types. SQL.types import struct type, struct field, and whatever we have, these are data types. So here majorly we are using integer type, string type. Okay, integer type, string type. So how we are defining schema is, so first we need to write struct type, and inside struct type, we need to pass all these struct fields in the form of a list. So starting and ending with square bracket, that is a list. So each struct field, we need to pass three parameters. So first one is column name, and second is a data type, and third one is Boolean operation, either true or false. So that means this particular column should allow nulls or not, either nulls or duplicate values. Suppose in this any of your column is primary key, and you should not allow duplicate values or null values. You can mention as true. So if you want to allow means, we can mention as false. Okay, so this is the column name, this is integer type, and this is column name, this is string type, and all the date columns, if you observe, all the date columns I paused as string type, not date type. I paused as string type. So use string type for date columns if the CSV contains dates in default string format. So why I'm pausing here string format is the CSV files, it will be in the form of string format. So suppose if you give here date type, by looking the value, if you give date type, it won't, there is possibility of getting null values. So first, always CSV files better to read as string type. So later you can convert these data types. That means this string type later you can convert to date type by using to_date function. Okay, so that is the reason mention all date columns as string type. So, and this is the default string format. So that is year, month, date. So, and one more thing, and if you observe the our input data frame, input values, see here, this anyhow, we cannot define directly date value. So we have to define as string type only. And whatever it recognizing as string, even after using infer schema, see, even after using infer schema, so whatever the columns it detecting as string type, so in later further, we need to convert into date type by using to_date function. So that is the transformations we do at silver layer level. So this all about bronze layer level. And one more thing, and if you see input values, see all these values. So whatever we have exact date, month, year. So these are all not in default format like year, month, date. Okay, so it is in first month, date, month, year. So since all these are in this format, so we cannot directly apply um, date data type. So that is the reason we are applying first string type. So later we can convert to date type. So here we are here. So first I defined the schema here. All the schema I defined. So next this schema I'm passing here. So here, what is the difference between previous the code and this one is? So in earlier case, we are not defined manually. So instead I used option infer schema equal to true. But here, instead of that option, what I'm doing, dot schema, and I'm passing this schema. Whatever I defined schema, I'm passing here. So this whole thing I'm passing here. So now what will happen as compared to previous one, that means with defining infer schema equal to true and providing manual schema, there is performance differences there. So when you defined manual schema like this, performance will increase. So that means it will consume less time to read this data frame and to display. Why? Because in earlier case, since we given infer schema equal to true, what it has to do, two times it has to pass the data. So that means two times it has to scan the data. So one is to load the data and to scan the each and every column of values. So it has to scan all the values of this column to detect the data type and this column and all the columns and all the data. So if you have some thousands of rows, it will take time to detect the data type by using infer schema equal to true. So whenever you mention this particular option schema, and since we have mentioned manually, what will happen? So one scan will reduce. So that means this detecting data type scan will get reduced. So only what scan will run is only loading the data. So one is performance will increase and the schema will be perfect. Because in infer schema equal to true, there are few columns, chances of getting different data types. Like, like I mentioned, so this particular case, it giving integer, sometimes it will give you long data type. And so this particular case, so it detecting as string only, not date. So there are few issues will be with infer schema equal to true. So infer schema equal to true, that particular method is not recommended for production releases. Why? Because so so today, if suppose yesterday data it detected correctly, and today you got one more CSV file. So while reading that, there is possibility of detecting as a different data type. So that time what will happen? Pipeline will get failed. So if you define like this, so it will follow as per this data type, and it will reduce the time of for scanning the data. And in production, always in real-time projects, always recommended to use define the manual schema instead of defining infer schema equal to true. So next, using spark.read.format CSV. So this is, as I mentioned, this is the recommended method. Why? Because if you mention like format CSV, so if CSV file means CSV and a JSON means JSON, text means TXT, Avro means Avro, and Parquet means Parquet. So remaining code will be almost same. No need to change much code in that. So useful when switching between formats dynamically. That means this one. So if you change only this format, remaining code no need to change. So here spark.read. See here these three lines of code is same. What is the difference is load. So earlier we written .csv, but in this method we are writing load, and that CSV we are writing here by using format method dot format CSV. And you can see the schema here. So if you see here, integer, string, date. So here I'm not used schema. So I given infer schema equal to true. So it automatically detecting the data type, but with few columns like the start date, detecting as string. So only difference is syntax here. If you compare with the scenario 3, so only difference is this one. This syntax is different. So otherwise it is same. So next one is using options with key value pair. So here what we can do is spark.read and options and .csv. So up to here, this is same. .csv, this path is same. So here only one thing we are changing is instead of writing multiple times. So maybe if you see previous case, so here dot option adapt true dot option infer schema equal to true. So two times we are writing dot option. So if we have like this multiple types, then what we can do is you can define in one dictionary as key value pair so that you can pass here. See here dot options. So dot options, and inside that I am keeping double star and this variable, this dictionary I'm passing here. So here header equal to true visa, info schema equal to true visa. So here dot options, header equal to true, dot options, info schema equal to true. So what we are not discussed is delimiter. So for in case of CSV file, so delimiter is default. So no need to mention here. So Spark, all CSV files, it will consider as comma separated. If you have, suppose if you have .txt file and it has any different delimiter instead of comma, sometimes pipeline will be there. Pipeline is vertical line. Sometimes colon will be there. Sometimes comma will be there. Sometimes some other delimiter will be there. So those cases will use delimiter. But CSV is Spark by default it considered as comma delimiter. So all these options will pass through option only. So suppose if I don't want to use this one, how I need to write is, so I need to mention these things like this. Otherwise, I'll copy same thing up to here. So option header equal to true. I will add one more option here. Option. So what I'm doing here, delimiter. So here delimiter and here comma. Okay, so this way we need to define here. What I'll do comment it out. So instead of writing this one, we are writing this one. So what I'll do, I'll move it down. Okay. So instead of this code, we are writing this one. Very simple. Otherwise, what I'll do, I'll mention here it as method. So method is default method. And method 01 and here method 2 alternate method. Okay, so this is about using options with key value pair. Okay, so here I try to explain maximum options here, how to read CSV file and okay. So maximum options I covered here, how to read CSV files. So by using this, keeping in mind all these methods. So what are problems you face in CSV file while reading, you can solve. So that's all about this video on how to read CSV files. If you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.